This is truly an unprecedented situation.
This virus doesn't discriminate. It attacks everyone.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead.
This is certainly not a moment for panic or high anxiety. It is a moment for vigilance.
I am officially declaring a national emergency. Stay at home.
Stay home, stay safe.
Quite simply, stay at home.
No jobs. Everything has been completely canceled. When everything kind of first went into lockdown, I got the notification that one job, major, huge, lots of money job was canceled. I'm like, okay, this sucks. And then my phrase of the day for the upcoming week was like, another job is canceled. And I try and laugh about it because comedy is kind of how I deal with stuff.
Apparently the landlord's like, oh, well, we still need to pay off the building. Can you guys give us some money? So we try to give them as much as we could, but they said, you can just make it up as soon as this pandemic is over, but we don't know when will that be based on what we're hearing through the media, on television, on the internet. So we just decided, maybe we should just leave ourselves, because it might be the safer bet. Things are really tight around here. In a situation right now, we're always trying to financially, make sure that we're able to survive on food, water, supplies, anything that we need to get through the day or for the month. We'll just calculate it and see what we need. But so right now we're leaning towards moving back home to our parents' house, me and my girlfriend, and to see what are other better options once this pandemic is over. And we heard that it was going to be over during the summer. Nothing is all set in stone yet because she works for Disneyland, and she got I forgot the word, freeload or something like that, and she's going to go into unemployment, but they're not giving her hourly rate because she works full time. So therefore, we couldn't really afford all that, and we would just be in too much debt to our landlords to make up for that rent that they lost with us. So we just felt, we should just move back home then, start fresh until we get back on our feet. As well as everybody, we're one of many thousands, millions of people out here that have that current situation. You just want to bring to light, it's not fair. It's not our fault. As a society here in the U.S. that we can't pay our bills because of this pandemic that's happening. So I don't know how that goes with the laws or the government, but I really feel for those people as well as myself. Those who can't pay the bills or the rent or anything to keep a roof over their heads or food on the table.
Today I'm also announcing that the Department of Housing and Urban Development is providing immediate relief to renters and homeowners by suspending all foreclosures and evictions until the end of April.
Kind of nervous. I said, oh my gosh, I left a 17-year career, and I said I was going to pursue this. How am I going to pursue it now? We can no longer go to castings. And I don't have a bona fide agent that will help me get voiceovers or remote work. So what am I going to do? I signed up with Backstage, and then I also signed up with the local community talent group, but they haven't sent me anything. So luckily I came across you. But I was very nervous, because I want to be a working actor. I want to earn an income. I'm surviving on my pension, which is good. But it's not going to last forever if it's just outgoing and nothing incoming, and I really don't want to do another 9 to 5. I want to work within the field that I left the UN to pursue. I want to work as an actress.
Okay, well, for me, the coronavirus impacted my teaching. I went from teaching in a classroom to now teaching online. And now that the state of Florida has been told that we are no longer in school the rest of the year, the struggle to maintain that continuity with my students, as well as keeping them challenged and keeping them motivated, especially our seniors, to get to graduation. Now, as far as, and I've lost some tutoring business because of that, because now people don't want you in their homes. But my brother, he's had a little bit more worse, been more challenged. He was placed on furlough for his job, and the business that he and his wife started, she is now the manager of that Lunchbox Deli and Treats in Maryland. That lost major sales. Over 50% was cut. So that's impacted their sales. And now they've not only had the challenge of trying to keep afloat the business and themselves, but also not laying off 7 other people. So they're working hard to do that, to keep everybody employed.
Yeah, so, the reality of pursuing an acting career is, you need a steady income to support it. So when I lost my job due to this virus, it was a major impact. The next week I had to pay my rent, and in another week and a half I still don't have a job. So I went to a job course, something I've never done before in my life, because I've always had a job and I've always been busy, and that was very challenging. It was funny because they called me up and they said, "Well, we have this warehouse where you be packing pasta in a freezer for 12 hours a day," and I just thought to myself, like, I can't, like, this is crazy. And then I dug even deeper and I went into McDonald's and applied for a job. I mean, it was very challenging, like, to do that. And it's not to, discredit anyone that works at McDonald's. I'm currently working there now. But it's just not what I was accustomed to. And I feel like it gave me more fuel to my fire to push harder when, things clear, and even push harder before they clear, because, if I can get through this with a positive mind, then nothing can stop me.
Well, listen, this is not new for me, going through a problem like this. When the Great Recession hit, I said, like, I lost my business in a day. I could have given up. Of course, I got a really sweet gig the day after. But then, business dried up for almost a year. This was right in the middle of, when all the banks went out, the mortgages, and, people were losing their jobs. And I was at a portfolio review at the Art Directors Club, which all the photographers paid money to go. And within, the Lehman Brothers crashed that day. And within 15 minutes, I watched the room evaporate, because all the people that were there realized that they were going to be fired, basically. So the tone of the room changed immediately. And I said to myself, you have to safeguard yourself against, I guess you'd call it a black swan event. So you have to safeguard yourself. So, what happened with the pandemic is similar, except that everybody is impacted, not just, a specific segment of the economy. And the way to come out of it is to be innovative. And the only way to innovate is to figure out what you do well, and then how you can translate that into creating a monetization for it. So what I'm doing now is I'm offering video editing for people who are making videos but don't know how to put it together in a cohesive way. Obviously, I can't go to you and film anything because everyone has to isolate. But there's a lot of people out there that are doing content that, if they just tweaked it a little bit, it would make it so much better for them. And editing is one of the ways that they can do that. So the adaptation, the change. I immediately went online to LinkedIn, because that's how I can get to the most people. And I started emailing, instant messaging people, telling them that I'm still open for business. I relocated upstate. I have a studio in Brooklyn, which is shut down right now because it's a non-essential business. But I have a farmhouse upstate where I do a lot of work, and I have done a lot of work. So I just brought all my gear up here. And over the years, I've learned how to food style. So I don't need a crew to do food photography. So I'm open for that. And I actually booked a job on LinkedIn with a company out in Colorado. There's a mother and daughter team. They saw the woman connected with me, and I sent them a little thing, and we got talking, and she booked me for a job.
When I found out my show was canceled, I cried. I was really angry, and it was a really just dark day where I was like, this was my dream. I've worked my whole life for this, and it's gone, or at least I felt like it was gone. And this was through no fault of my own. And so I was really depressed. But on the other hand, my sister is an emergency room doctor, so she's in the thick of it. And to protect her privacy, I'm not going to name the hospital, but I was also worried about her because of the mask test situation. And I was worried about her baby because my sister has a 14-month-old daughter who I'm going to call Peaches for the sake of this documentary. And Peaches, because of Corona, hasn't had all of her vaccines because they're not deemed essential. And so this was an at-risk child. And so I was worried about my sister, my brother-in-law, and their baby too. So, and then I'm out here in Vegas. I was worried about my friends in New York, and a few of them got very sick. A few died. So I was just running the gamut.
I'm a really big optimist. So I'm trying to look at this as like a positive, like a blessing in disguise, as terrible as that sounds. Like, oh, I have time now to go through this box that I haven't been able to go through because I wake up, I go to work, I come home, and you go to sleep kind of thing. So I'm trying to find positives in that. I love to cook. I have time to cook instead of like, I only have an hour to cook dinner. It's like, I can actually do this 3-hour cook that I want to do. So I'm trying to find the positives in it.
Stay in faith. Faith is key. Just give it. When you might not be religious, it is what it is. I, without a doubt, know that there's a higher power. I got a really cool story behind that if you ever want to hear it. And there's without a doubt a God. And if you constantly rely on yourself, then you're making yourself your own God, and you're gonna fall short of so many things. But when you start realizing like there's a higher power, there's a bigger purpose, there's somebody who knows everything, and when you start realizing that, that's where that peace comes. You just give it to him, like or her. This is out of my control. I can't do anything about it. Can you please help me out? I know a lot of people probably don't want to hear that, but it's truth. And this is coming from somebody who has literally lived under bridges. I've made tarp houses where I camoed them with grass that I was living in a field. Just don't give up. Keep pushing, and something will work out. If you put in enough effort in anything, and you keep a good attitude, you don't fall into the things that will no doubt or undoubtedly hold you back. Drugs, alcohol, pursuing the bad things in life that when you're doing them, you're like, I don't know if I should do this, or it's something that you need to evaluate and say, hey, I don't have to do this. My focus is here. This is what's benefiting me. Say, you're depressed. Getting drunk isn't going to make you happy. It's a fleeting feeling that's only there for a minute, and it's gone. And then now you're out of money. You're even sadder than when you started. You've done something you regret. It's created more problems.
Don't fall into the trap of being complacent or being in despair or thinking that you can't get through this. Because the minute you give up is the minute you're done. So there's always a solution, and if you have to go work at Target, for 6 months until you can get your master plan going, or if you have to, sell French fries or whatever it is that you have to do, as long as you have a plan that you can follow step by step to get you from point A to point B, then you're in the game. The minute you stop, the minute your passion goes away for what you want to, and there's a lot of people that don't know what they want to do. And, I feel bad for people who had jobs that suddenly they're out of work and they don't understand what's going on and like how to fix that. And, it's easy to fall into like a melancholy because, they don't really understand how to be an entrepreneur. But, you know, this country is built on entrepreneurs, and it's not for everybody. And, you know, my recommendation is if it's not for you, then, you know, figure out what is for you and go for that. But, you know, I think that we're going to experience a complete shift in how the world works. You know, everybody's realizing that we can work from home and do these, you know, things. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are going to lose a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that are going to make a lot of money. So you just have to decide who you are as a person. If being an entrepreneur is something that you want to do, then, you know, it's a full-time job. It's 24/7 and it's relentless. But the rewards are, I haven't had a job in 25 years. So, you know, sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. I'm able to manage it. Some people can't. But my recommendation is, you know, be persistent. If don't give up. Like,